Oh, hello. My name's Chris Quinlan and welcome to Melbourne Musos Live. All these weird sounds. That's what I'm going to talk about. Hoi! As I said, my name's Chris Quinlan. Welcome to Melbourne Musos. Now, I'm going to talk about these sounds. Around about 2009. I got into triggers a little bit and it opened up my little tiny world, I tells you. What it is triggers. 2009 was the year, and 2010 were the years where I was told by authority that officially there were more electronic kits being sold than acoustic drum kits, mainly because of the built-up living. And Doris, the drum kit, the big-ass drum kit, can be a bit of a bit endangered when you're actually trying to practice in a block of villa units or flats or any kind of built-up living anywhere. So the wonderful electronic drum kit came across. Had to change my teaching style. There'd be kids coming along and they'd actually sit on the real thing and go, I didn't know the drums were so loud. Anyway, there you go. That's what they're built for, son. But what I did, there was triggers started to come along, these little... Ooh! All these fellas. Don't worry, I know there's a few purists out there, but they did give me lots of opportunity to do different things. With the computer and the interface, as you know, I can change it to strings and voices and all that. But I'd like to talk about medieval European percussion instruments. By majority, you have African drumming instruments and South American drumming instruments, if you like, percussion instruments and stuff, but not nearly as much. Are we talking about European? Of course, we know some European drums, like the snare drum. Cymbals from Turkey. All this biz. But what I'd like to talk about is just some of the sound. So what I'm going to do tonight is talk about some of the more obscure percussion instruments, which you are hearing at this second. Right now, courtesy of Triggers and Technology, I shall read to you list of percussion, I'll do it again. List of European medieval percussion instruments. Right. The adufi, or the pandero. Okay. A frame drum brought to Iberia by Muslims and played mainly by women. Used in the charamba in Portugal, a circle dance for couples. The adufe is a square or rectangular frame drum, usually made of pine, over which is mounted a goat's skin. Poor goat. The size of the frame usually ranges from 12 to 22 inches on each side and 1 to 2 inches thick. Oof, that's thick. The skin is stitched on the sides with the stitches covered by a coloured ribbon. In the interior, small seeds, stones or bells are placed to make pleasing sounds. Illustrated examples are decorated possibly with henna. So what starts to happen, there's that. And some of the pictures, let me see. Sicily, France, Barcelona. And there you go. There's that one there. Kind of a frame drum. So you get the kind. There's one down here. By my foot pedal. There you go. There it is there, my right side little thing. Used to have a cowbell down there, operated by a foot. Okay. Next we have, where is it? There we go. The bell, the beehive bell, the sugarloaf bell, the Gothic rib bell, the church bell. Okay, that's fairly straightforward, I would think. You can even have a cowbell, but I got bells. Oh, there you go. Bells. The bells, the bells. Quasimodo there. There you go. Oh, boy. All right, so there's the bells. And there we go. What have we got here? I'll read a little bit. I won't read it all. But here we go. From the 1st to the 4th century AD, Christians were persecuted in the Roman Empire and their religious ceremonies were kept secret. After persecution ended with the 313 AD Edict of Milan, bells became part of the open expression of Christianity as Christianity became, and so on it goes like that. And there you have bells, church bells, all sorts of bells. Okay, there you go. I'm going to work fairly quickly. Yeah. So there's all that business there. You have handbells, chimes, chime bells, bell chimes, cymbalum. There you go. More bells, cowbells. Now, who remembers? I got a bit. I went, you don't know about. Why is it called a cowbell? And I've gone, little grasshopper. Once upon a time, at the standard cowbell, you would put it around the neck of a cow and have the little dinger in the middle, so it'd be like dinger, 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 so you know where the cows were in the field in the morning, that kind of thing. And that's what would happen. And then you take the little dinger, dinger, dinger out, and we have our common cowbell that we have today. There you go. All right. And then you have, let me see, how shall I say this? The bumbulum, or should I say bumbulum? And what that is, some medieval scribes theorized about music from the past or used musical instruments to illustrate doctrinal points. They copied in manuscript a letter from St. Jerome to Claudius Pontius Dardanus Bicus Dicus. Jerome tried to explain pagan and Christian musical instruments that are mentioned in the Bible and their allegorical meanings. The letter was reproduced in Christian manuscripts starting about 850. Scribes began to, and it keeps on going like that. I'll sort of stop there. But what you've got there is kind of a little bit of a rattle. Okay, sort of like, so you get that ring. I don't have one here. Is it here? Yeah. There's a bell. Bring out the dead. No, it's a bit high. That's better. There's a bumbulum. Oh, how's your bumbulum going, mate? Yeah, I know. I'm taking tablets for it. The doc's giving me a cream. I usually leave that for when I'm explaining a hemiola. Sounds like you need a cream for it. Tambourine. There you go. Little one. Now, when we're talking European, we are talking about all those countries from way out west, from Ireland, the Celtic nations, the 7 Celtic nations, into Wales and then England itself, and then on to France and Germany and all the European nations. I've already talked about Turkey for the cymbals, all this sort of business. One of the things that is quite common is the frame drum. Okay. Now, you have frame drums in different spots, and I'm actually jumping, but here it is here. And I'll read this for you. Hang on. Si bandero or pandero or tabor. A tympanum is a piece of skin or frame drum. Piece of skin or leather stretched over a piece of wood on one side. Isidore of Seville, about 600 AD. The frame drum in use in Europe before the bigger drums arrived from West Asia can be called tambourines today. Tympanum was used as a name as well as tabor. These were wooden rings with leather covering one side. At first, there were no jingles, no jingle jangle, as became common. A variant was the pandero, introduced with Muslim invasions and pictured in manuscripts in Spain and Sicily. Some tabors could be frame drums, but others grew wider than the handheld ring, which we call tambourine today. Tof was the Hebrew instrument which Miriam played, most commonly translated into English as timbrel, near Eastern origin, used by Gauls, Greeks, Romans, Egyptians, Assyrians. Jingles were probably originally separate from this instrument, also related to daff. When jingles are attached, the instrument is classified as a type of rattle, a frame rattle in which the rattles for jingles strike the object to which they are attached. A timbrel or bass, tamborello, was a single-skin frame drum with cymbals, modern tambourine, while a single-skin frame drum without jingles could also be labeled tambourine or bender. The bender is also a Muslim frame drum with two snares from North Africa, whose name probably derives from a Spanish word. But how I know a frame drum best is because of the humble bowron, which is, of course, Celtic in origin. So what happens is, here's your frame drum. I'll just tap it. You don't play it like that, though. And what happens is you put your hand around like that. You see, you put it under, you have it there, and you can adjust the timbre by going up and down. I am no expert at it, but I know a few people who are. And what happens, you have a tipper. There it is there. It's a double-headed, smaller stick, a little bit more than half the size of a normal stick. It's called a tipper. The little bump that you see in the middle is where you put your hand, but it can change. It can be a little bit up, and it depends, you see. And you hold it pretty much like a pen, you see. And then you come down, you see. So you can have that. Oh, try and do it together. And I can't do it myself, but and you can come up like that. You've seen it. Just go to the YouTubers and you see some masters in Ireland. And there is your typical frame drum that we so much love. In different countries, they are often known as a reek. Reek. Play it again, see? Okay, there you go. And that is the humble bowran. I used to call it, before I got pulled up one day, I said, Chris, it's not pronounced like that. It's spelt like bodran. Oh, I really like the sound of the bodran until, no, it's bowron. Bowron. There you go. Now, when you are playing Celtic music, and medieval Celtic music from Ireland and Scotland, and all that, what you have is two types of movements, really. You have a jig, which is in 6/8, so you get that kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There it is there. And then you have a reel, like that. There it is. Now when I'm doing, I could do, what have I got? I'll stay here. So you get that. Now, if I change that to the snare drum, what you have is the beginnings of your rudimental type of thing. Goes all the way back to, there's a lot of conjecture about it, but around about 800 AD, when the Swiss army, who were mercenaries basically, started to use a drum, a side drum, as sending signals across a battlefield. That's why when you see the Edinburgh Tattoo was on telly just the other night. It was wonderful. And that's why you have 8 drummers all across, because if one of them gets like that, someone else steps up, you've got a few, and the generals there send the message to attack, retreat, run away, that kind of thing. All that business, long-held tradition, and now mostly ceremonial as soon as electricity was invented. But, and if you're in cavalry, I'm sure you've seen enough films where they have the flags, bugles, all this business. Bugle is, of course, your horn with no valves, because you just have it like that, so it's really... when you hear it on the special occasions like Anzac Day and Remembrance Day, it is just the horn with no valves, like a trumpet, because you're busy galloping, you see. And only a few countries would have a drum. There are some pictures of a drum on each side of horses in a cavalry and stuff, but that's mainly ceremonial, and it can be problematical for the poor horse, you see, loud enough as it is. But that's where our rudiments come from, because what happens is if you're playing a paradiddle, it's the same right, left as marching. You see, that's what happens, and you're evening out the workload. A lot of people go, you don't need paradiddle, blah, 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 but it's a long-held tradition. It's what it is. Once you understand where they come from, there's a new appreciation for it, you see. And what goes on is that it is now embedded in our culture, the snare drum, the side drum, if you wish, all this stuff. So that's pervasive all the way through. Countries with long-held marching traditions, of course, is Scotland, Ireland, England. You've got, America has their drum lines and stuff, but if we're keeping to Europe, you've got to remember that it was actually, funnily enough, the Swiss Army that started. That's why we have things like Swiss Army triplets and stuff. Not that that's a more recent thing, but that kind of thing. I've explained that on rudimental shows. But this is medieval instrument, medieval percussion. Specifically from Europe, mainly because it doesn't get as much of a mention as does African drumming, African percussion, and South American percussion. You see, there you go. So that's what goes on there. I shall carry on with a little bit of reading, and I hope you're enjoying it. It's a little bit different today, but that's what triggers do. Once I got them, it just opened up a whole world for me, as well as everything else on just the standard drum kit. All this stuff. But with triggers, the thing about it is because it got melodic when I put in, say, a string patch or something like that, which I've done plenty of times. But what it is, I've got to come up with I've got to solve a problem. So it opened up my playing so much, if you know what I mean. So I had all my stuff for the regular drum kit, but as soon as I got these fellas, for instance, back in 2002, a long time ago now. Start to have to get into polymetric. Hail Caesar! Bigger stickers. How are you today? Yes, I'm very good. Where's this going? Pardon me. Oh, got a little cough. Let's get back into it. All right, there's your frame drum. I skipped over a couple of little things there, but it's something that I've already done. Symbols. Greek word, symbolum, transmitted to medieval Europe through Latin. Symbolum, singular, symbols, plural. I'll say that again. Symbolum is singular, symbols are plural. Examples in Roman and Byzantine mosaics show girls dancing with them in different versions that include finger or palm symbols on sticks and cup-shaped symbols. The symbols on sticks. Crotala, remember the crotales? You can buy them like an octave, and they're set up piano style. You see crotales. And there you go, found their way into the art of the Carolingian Empire. In medieval manuscripts, symbols became bell chimes, bells suspended in series. Oh, missed. And there you go, struck with hammers or mallets. There you go, cup-shaped symbols also made their way into medieval manuscripts. Unlike the dancing artwork from Roman and Byzantine mosaics, the Carolingian and later artwork was stripped of sexuality and put into a Christian or Jewish context. Ooh. The only drums is a drum now. This is where the timpani comes from. The only drums in Europe reaching into ancient times were Semitic frame drums, such as the Greek and Roman tympanum. Larger drums were introduced from West Asia in the medieval period. They were played as timekeepers, marking the beat. Their metrical not developed yet. Oh, I've done the frame drum, going past that. Ooh, ooh. There you go. Hourglass drum. Oh, I should have got them. I didn't bring them. But you can have, they come from Africa. And that's why I didn't bring them, because they're part of the African culture, but they made their way up into Europe. We know them best at hourglass drums. You have things like a djembe. My friend Mr. King says, what do you call them? It's a djembe, a chombre. So now my djembe is now known Mr. Chombre. Hello, how you going, Mr. Chombre? There you go. Other ones is the doumbek, which is right over there. And you can have a little finger hourglass drum, which is often known as a darbuka. There you go. I didn't even need to read that, but I'll read it now. Images in miniatures in the Cantagas de Santa Maria and the Valcavado B to show an hourglass drum was in use in Spain. Such drums are used in northern Africa, like I said, the doumbek, and may have entered Europe with the Moorish soldiers who conquered the Iberian Peninsula. The drum also had been painted in Sicily, another place in Europe where Islamic and Christian cultures met. Oh, there you go. Okay, it just keeps on going. Rattles, you've got your rattles and you've got your bells. You've got all sorts of things. And you also have what's known as a Jew's harp, which is ba-doing, doing, ding, a dong, a ding, a doing, doing, like that. Wonderful stuff. And that's what you've got. How am I going for time? I'm right on, so I better love and leave you in a second. But I hope that what I've done tonight is really just a little bit, it's all just keeping on going here. I hope that it's giving you a little bit of a taste to explore things like that. In the funny... In the funniest of ways, in a strange way, I started hearing all these names, funnily enough, through Jethro Tull's Songs from the Wood album. Let me bring you songs from the wood to make you feel much better than you could go. Better than you could know. Dust you down from tip to toe. Just down from the toe. Da 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 da. And the wonderful Barrymore Barlow, when they did things like Velvet Green from the Songs from the Wood album and a few others, he would bring out his little mini kit Oh, and it had the tabor and the knackers, where Ian Anderson called, well, they're Barry's knackers. There you go. And wonderful drumming. And many of my friends know that I love Barrymore Barlow's drumming. Oh! Now, I hope you enjoyed all that. My name is Chris Quinlan, and it is Melbourne Musos Live, all in one take. I'll have it up on I'll have it up on the YouTuber soon enough over the weekend, but it will be on Channel 31 next Wednesday night at 10:30. But when you see it on Wednesday night, it's now. Ha! Oh, the irony. And what it is I'm so happy nobody passed away this week. I did 3 tributes in a row. Oh, and all that. So I really wanted to keep this one more upbeat, and it's good. And I hope you learned something out of it. If you want to hear some of these instruments in action wonderfully, Jethro Tull, songs from the Wood album, Velvet Green, Barrymore Barlow, extraordinary drummer, brilliant. John Bonham called him the best drummer England has produced, you see. Check him out. For everything else, just chase it down. Listen to some Irish music for the Bowron, their masters, and all that. So I'll let you go. Now, for a nice glass of